Hello everybody, hope you all are doing really well. This is CS Supreet Agrawal, your faculty for ACCA AA and AAA subjects. My friends, in this video we are going to discuss about the most important concepts as well as most important questions for your ACCA AA preparation, that is audit and assurance paper. My friends, in this video we are going to discuss about all the important questions that you should cover from BPP, Kaplan as well as ACCA Study Hub. So please watch this video till the end. Plus, as a bonus, what I am going to do is I am going to discuss about some of the most important questions as well as some of the most important topics for section A as well as section B. So let us quickly go and see what all things we are going to cover today. So first thing is most important topics, that is we are going to discuss about the most important topics for section A, that is objective type questions, as well as section B, that is descriptive type questions. These are not the question names but the topics. Then we are going to discuss about the most important questions separately for section A, that is objective type questions, and section B, that is descriptive type questions. And I am also going to mark that what is the source of this particular question and what is the rationale of selecting this particular question as an important question. Okay, so I am going to discuss about each one of them. Once we cover that, I am also going to tell you that how I could help you to prepare for these questions and where you can get the files of these particular questions. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now let's discuss about each one of them one by one in detail. Okay, so my friends, today you have to understand one thing, that whenever you prepare for AA, first thing is concept clarity, that is you should have the ultimate concept clarity. However, there are certain topics that are tested more than the other topics, more than the remaining topics, so therefore you should always focus on the most important topics as well. I am nowhere saying that you can that you can leave the other topics and you can focus only on these topics. No, but what you should do is you should always focus on the most frequently asked questions, and then you can cover the rest topic as well. Okay, so for section A, that is objective type questions, the most frequently tested areas are audit assertions and audit evidences. Assertions, you remember that completeness, accuracy, valuation, cutoff, rights and obligation, presentation and disclosure, existence and occurrence, rights and obligation, all of that is tested under audit assertions. And audit evidences, what kind of audit evidences are there? The ISA 500 series, right? So please try to understand that all of these are very important. Okay, ISA 500 series here. Okay, then audit risk and materiality. Audit risk and materiality, this is fully ISA 300 series. Okay, audit risk and materiality. Audit risk is also defined as IR into CR into DR, remember? And materiality, what is considered as materiality, what is performance materiality, all those concepts. Then test of controls versus substantive procedures, that is what is the significance of test of controls while framing an opinion and what effects does it have on the substantive procedures and the basis of substantive procedures. Then documentation, so nature, type, extent of documentation, plus the extent of documentation that is required, what is the permanent audit file, what is the temporary audit file, current year audit file, all of that. Then professional ethics with threats. See my friends, professional ethics, whenever I say, I am talking about fundamental principles. I am talking about fundamental principles. Professional ethics means I am talking about fundamental principles. But when I say threats, it means what? I am talking about those 5 threats. What are fundamental principles? You remember that integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, professional competency, due care and professional behavior. Similarly, in threats, self-interest threat, self-review threat, familiarity threat, advocacy threat and intimidation threat, right? Then audit planning. This is also part of ISA 300 series only, but it majorly talks about how do we understand the entity, how do we identify and assess the risk, how do we evaluate the risk, and how do we respond to the risk. Okay. Then going concern. Now evaluation of going concern assumption is very important for the auditor. How do we respond to this? Then subsequent events, which would be considered as subsequent event and how do we adjust it in the audit report, what is the effect on the audit report. Then auditor's responsibilities for fraud. Now when I say fraud, I also mean here and error, fraud and error. Okay, so this is also very important, that how do auditor need to respond to these auditors' responsibilities for fraud and error. Then audit reports, this is 700 series. All standards under 700, although 710 is little less tested, but you can consider all other standards. And then finally non-audit services. Now this is one area which is generally not given due importance by students, but this is very important. Generally one question is asked on non-audit services as well, or non-assurance services as well. I hope this is clear. Now for section B, I'm making this video in a very quick format so that you can cover the maximum content in the minimum time. Okay. Now section B, descriptive type questions. So what areas are little more important than the other areas for descriptive type questions? So for descriptive type question, audit risk identification. That is, one question is generally asked on that define the audit risk, identify the audit risk in the scenario. So audit risk identification is one such area which is tested. Then internal control deficiencies with recommendations for improvements as well. That is, you will be asked to test the internal controls and you will be asked to identify the deficiencies and sometimes communicate that deficiencies to management, and those shall with governance as well. Then audit procedures for receivables and payables. Although audit procedure is important for multiple other areas, but the most frequently tested areas are receivables, payables, cash and bank balances, research and development expenditure, and property, plant and equipment. So audit of revenue recognition including fraud risk, then audit of provisions and contingencies as well, then professional ethics with threats, again the similar topic, audit professional ethics with threats, especially familiarity in gifts. This is one of the most frequently asked questions about familiarity in gifts. How do auditor need to respond whenever there is a threat because of familiarity or gifts? Then engagement, acceptance and continuance. Now this is one area which is generally not given due importance by students, the acceptance and continuance part, but this is also tested. Going concern review, again the same way. Modifications in audit opinion, again the same way. And audit sampling justification. Now this is one area, audit sampling, which is very important when it comes to the AA testing. Why? Because in case of audit sampling, the methods are also important. What kind of samples you have selected, whether you have given due importance to qualitative as well as quantitative sampling, that is also very important. Then key audit matters. Now this is again part of 700 series. So these are generally the areas which are tested more frequently than the other areas. Key audit matters is not generally separately tested, it is made from part of some questions. Now let's come to the favorite part of the video, where we are going for the discussion of most important questions, and the source are going to be BPP, Kaplan as well as the ACCA Study Hub. So see, for section A and for section B I have created separate list, okay, for section A as well as section B. When I talk about section A, that is objective type questions. So the framework that I have given is serial number, question name, source, rational. Serial name, question name, source and rational. Okay, so first question is BJM company, it is from BPP. So till now, from starting now till question number 10, the questions are from BPP only. Okay, so the first question is BJM company. BJM company, why it is important? Because it is talking about the auditor's responsibility, and whenever there are questions on the auditor's responsibility, student gets a little confused on which option to select. So that is why I have particularly selected this question as an important question that you should solve. Then orange BPP, ethical scenarios. This will talk about the ethical scenarios that an auditor could face and how auditor needs to respond to these scenarios. Okay, then Kamari BPP, non-audit services. Like I told you that a lot of students misses out on the non-audit services, and then whenever there is a question they get a little confused. So that is why non-audit services question is very important over here. Then Bridgeford BPP, multiple concepts. This particular question tests multiple concepts, and believe me, whenever you will be solving this question, you will realize that this particular question is taking a lot of time. Okay, even if you are able to solve it, this is taking a lot of time, and that is why this particular question is very important, because this will test your navigation part, that is whether you are able to navigate to the right part of the syllabus or not. Then goofy company again BPP, auditor's responses. See, first one was auditor's responsibility, but this one will talk about auditor's responses, that is how auditor needs to respond in a particular scenario. This is not particularly for one line of action, but this will cover multiple areas. Then Southly, when I say Southly, so this particular question will talk about internal controls and internal audit, which is one part where students generally do not solve the questions, and ACCA generally test it also. Okay, then Lancaster company, please apologize, I am apologizing to you if I mispronounce any of the name, but please try to understand the concept here. Okay, Lancaster company BPP, specific audit procedures. If you have any suggestions on which how do I need to pronounce a particular question, please feel free to let me know. Okay, but please focus on the name first. Lancaster company, again it is from BPP, and it talks about the specific audit procedure for certain areas, like audit procedures to audit property, plant and equipment, to audit cash and bank balances, that way. Then Willow and Company. When I talk about Willow and Company, this is again specific audit procedures. Why we have selected 2 questions for the similar areas? See, these are specific audit areas for different areas, and that is why we have selected this question. Then Pickering and Company, again from BPP, this talks about assertion based testing. That is, this is not just talking about mentioning the audit procedures, but this will also consider the assertions at place. So you will be performing the audit procedures, but you will also be considering that what is the effect of the assertions over here. Then Clarinet, BPP, effects on auditor's report. Effects on auditor's report. See, there could be certain scenarios that might be happening in the case study, but you should also know that what kind of effect it is going to have on the auditor's report. So that is why this question is very important for you. Then we will come to Kaplan, where Winnie Company, Eeyore Company, Piglet Company is there. Okay, starting from this question till I think how many questions? Till 20th questions. The questions are from Kaplan only. Okay, so Winnie Company, Eeyore Company, Piglet Company. Okay, why we have selected this question? Because it talks about conflict of interest. My friends, first of all, please try to clarify one thing here. Am I saying that you only need to solve these 10 BPP questions and you are prepared for the examination? No. What I am saying is that these are the 10 questions which covers different parts of your syllabus, and these questions or these parts of the syllabus are frequently tested in the examination as well. That is why I have selected these questions. You should solve all questions, but if you are running short of time, if you have limited time, you should focus on these questions. Okay. Now, Winnie Company, Eeyore Company, Piglet Company we have covered. Conflict of interest. Then Agrawal Company is there. It again talks about multiple concepts. That is, you will see that in every MCQ different concept is being tested, which will help you cover a lot of syllabus. Then Swandive Company. This talks about payroll fraud. This is very specific, and I have seen that this payroll fraud question is covered multiple times. Considering your BPP, Kaplan and ACCA Study Hub, this payroll fraud is covered multiple times, and that is why I have selected this question. Then Lizzie Company, again from Kaplan, deficiencies in internal control. But sir, we have already covered about deficiencies in internal controls above, right? My friends, there we talked about internal control, not deficiencies in internal control. Plus, deficiencies in internal controls could be tested in different ways, and there could be different communication that might be required. So that is why I have selected this question. Then Seagull Company is there. That is from Kaplan, assertion testing. We have had one more question, but here when we will be doing the assertion testing, you will be seeing a different version of it, and that is why I have selected it. Okay. Now Miranda and Company again from Kaplan. This talks about ethics and threats. That is not just professional ethics, but also talks about the threats that we have discussed. Bark Company is there from Kaplan. EQR and ethics. Now this is very important because EQR is one topic which is generally more focused on by students during their AAA preparation, but not during their AA preparation. That has been my observation. But even if there's a question on EQR, should you be able to solve it? Yes, you should be able to solve it. So that is why this is very important to solve this one question before going for the examination, so that you are aware about how EQR is playing role in your AA syllabus, plus how it affects the ethics also. Spring and Company, audit sampling and completion. Again, audit sampling we have already covered, but when I talk about audit sampling here, you will be seeing a different version of it. Plus, it is also having a question on how does it affect the completion stage, and that is why this question has been selected. Now, Blinken Company is on completion and reporting. See, whenever we talk about audit opinion, that becomes one of the major portion of your syllabus. So that is why this particular question is also very important. Then last question from your Kaplan, which is Signal Company. Okay, which is subsequent events and reporting. See, subsequent events is one part which you might have studied in FR, right? But when it is tested in AA, it is tested from the point of view of how it will affect the financial statements and how it will affect the auditor's report. And therefore, this question is very important because this is having a discussion on subsequent events as well as reporting part of it. I hope this is clear. Right? Now, there could be certain questions that you might find that they are common between BPP, Kaplan or ACCA Study Hub. So you do not need to worry. I have already done that research for you, and I have already eliminated those questions. So you do not need to worry about it. Okay. Now let's talk about certain questions which are from ACCA Study Hub. Okay. So all the questions that I am going to discuss from now till the end of the objective type discussion, it is going to be the questions from ACCA Study Hub. So first question is Jeopard and Company. This talks about auditors' rights. See, we have already discussed about auditors' responsibilities, auditors' responses, but it's time we discuss about the auditors' rights as well. Then Haughty and Company talks about the independence procedures, majorly having its roots in ethics and threats only, but this majorly talks about independence and different types of threats. Then bonsai trading company, this talks about fraud in particular. Although we have had one question on fraud, but this question will help us understand how an auditor needs to respond to fraud in different scenarios. Then Bush Baby Hotels Company. Bush Baby Hotel Company, this talks about internal audit. But sir, we have already covered internal audit in one question, right? But this question is fully dedicated to internal audit, and this is a very beautiful question. So you should definitely solve it. Okay. Then Crichton Company, this talks about issues in written representation. See, from your general understanding, you can always write what is written representation, what factors are there, what content should be there. But this question talks about how you need to respond if there has been any issues in written representation, and that is why this question is very important for you. Then Violet and Company. When I say Violet and Company, this again test multiple concepts, and this becomes your important question. I have personally solved it in my class, and this is a very good question. Panda Company Study Hub, this talks about subsequent events, but in a different way. That is why we have again kept it. Savage and Company talks about multiple concepts. Wyler Company talks about reporting issues, not just reporting how auditor needs to report, but how auditor needs to report in different scenarios, and that is why this question is very important. Then Paprika Company again talks about multiple concepts. So sir, how many questions we have selected so far? We have selected 30 questions of MCQs, 30 questions of MCQ case studies. That is very important for you. Okay, and you will see that if you solve these 30 questions, you will be addressing all important areas that we have discussed about. So that is why this is very important. Okay, now let's talk about section B, that is descriptive type questions, constructive response questions, right? So here when I talk about, again I have divided the source into BPP, Kaplan and Study Hub, and there's a fourth source also, which is Study Hub study questions. These are certain additional questions which are given in the ACCA study website only. That is why I have taken these questions. Okay, now do I mean that you can only solve these questions and go to the examination? Definitely not. But what do I mean? That you can definitely start with these questions after your revision, and you can go ahead for solving other questions and appearing for the mock test as well, because you will be tested with different areas by solving these questions. So up to now we discussed about the multiple choice questions. Now we are going to talk about the descriptive type questions. Okay, so first question is Herlim. When I talk about Herlim, this talks about fraud and ratio analysis. See my friends, you will see that the questions in the MCQ format would not be generally asked for ratio analysis, but whenever there's a question on descriptive type question, then there could be chance that ratio analysis could be asked. I have seen multiple questions for ratio analysis, and that is why I have mentioned it over here, because ratio analysis is not just the calculation part. You also need to write the descriptive part, you also need to write the effect on the financial statement parts. So this question will help you understand that. Then Corley appliances, again from BPP, preconditions and audit risk. Preconditions for accepting an audit and audit risk. How do you need to identify the audit risk? What effect will it have on the other assurance parts or other audit engagement parts? Then Peach Company, BPP, audit risk and fraud. This talks about identification of audit risk, when it will be considered as fraud risk, and how do you need to respond to fraud. Then Lapis Company, BPP, this talks about quality management. That way we discussed about EQR, but here now we are going to discuss about the quality management. Is it important? Yes. Then Snowdon from BPP, this talks about internal controls and deficiencies. So this will have a descriptive way of writing how do you need to identify the internal control issues and how do you need to report on the deficiencies identified. Then White Ticker Company, again from BPP, again on internal control and deficiencies. So you have selected 2 questions of internal control and deficiencies over there also and over here also. Why so? Because this is one area which is definitely tested in every exam attempt. Okay, so that is why this becomes very important for you. Now Rose Company, BPP, receivables, payables, that is audit procedures on receivables, payables and written representations. Combination is there, that is why this question is important. Then Hyacinth, BPP, audit of inventory, R&D, like we discussed, inventory, R&D, property, plant and equipment, cash and bank balances, revenue, these are very important. Danube Company, PPE and CAM as in key audit matter. Then Heron Company, BPP, talks about PP&E, bank and conclusion part, how do you need to conclude on the audit report. Then Lilly Company from BPP, this talks about automated tools. Now this question is important because although automated tools is a very small part of your syllabus, okay, very small part of your syllabus, but it is in fact a very small subtopic also. But if a question is asked a lot of students might not be able to answer it, and that is why this question becomes important, because you should know how you need to answer this question. And that is why I'm letting you know the source also, so that you do not need any other material. You can directly go to this source and read the question. Then Panda Company BPP, assurance engagement is there. Assurance engagement, that is it talks about the elements of assurance engagement and how different assurance engagement works. Now let's come to the Kaplan. Okay, how many questions we have selected from BPP? 12 questions. Now Kaplan, starting from 13 and going up to 18. Okay, so little less questions from Kaplan this time. Purely this talks about materiality. Why this is important? Because this involves calculation of materiality and how different factors affects the materiality. Hurling Company, this talks about audit risk and ethics. Audit risk has been covered multiple times, but how does it affect the ethics part also? That is very new in this question. Centipede talks about ratio analysis. We have already covered one question on ratio analysis, right? But this question is fully dedicated to ratio analysis. Then Swift talks about internal controls. Again, internal controls are very important. Pineapple Beach Hotel, multiple concepts are tested over here. That is why this becomes one of the most important questions. Then Orange Financials. This is from Kaplan, the last question from Kaplan, and this talks about threats and safeguards. Now this is a single question that I have identified, where we are talking about safeguards also. That is, along with threats, we are also talking about safeguards. So that is why this question becomes little more important. Now let's talk about certain questions which are from ACCA Study Hub. Okay, although all of these questions are from ACCA Study Hub now that we are going to discuss after this, but some questions are from the special part, which is study questions. So let's talk about Study Hub. Zircon Rabbit and Flashy, this talks about EQR and risk. Darjeeling Company, multiple concepts. Raspberry Company, deficiencies. Greenfields Company, issues and written representation. But similar questions we have covered, right? Yes, but this has a little different way of writing it. Gooseberry, PP&D, R&D. Encore, PP&D and AR. See, again, PP&D, R&D, payables, receivables, cash and bank balances. That is something that is going to be repeated, and once and twice revenue or inventory. Then Jasmine Company, AR, bank and going concern. Again, see, so if you solve these questions, you will be in a very good position to solve these questions in the examination also, and that is why I am mentioning this part here. Then audit committee issues and audit committee. Now this is something, study questions. This is given under the practice paper only, or under the practice section only. But this is important because this will help you identify certain core areas where you need to apply your procedures. Audit committee, issues and audit committee. Because anybody could write about audit committee, but can they identify the issues? Can they write on that? That might not be possible for everybody, and that is why this question is important. Now specs for you company, this talks about audit documentation. Kangaroo Company, this talks about materiality and ratio analysis, we have already discussed. Blackberry Company, this talks about fraud and error. Jasper, Ruby, Garnet and Emerald, this talks about multiple concepts, and that is why this is one of the most important questions. How many questions we have selected in total in descriptive type? 30. So now let me explain you certain things. Okay, certain important pointers over here. See my friends, how to approach for AA. Okay, how to approach for AA. Number one, instead of this I'll write number one, revise all concepts. Okay, for that you can come to a YouTube channel which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal, where we will be posting a lot of revision videos for ACCA AA. Then you should solve all important questions that we have discussed. List would be available, this particular file would be available on my Telegram channel, which is again ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Okay, now third thing, if you are able to do it, it's good. Then you should solve all remaining questions. Then you should appear for mock test, and revise. Okay, how I could help you, how I could help you. So see my friends, I am going to help you in multiple ways here. Okay. Number one, through revision videos on YouTube, revision videos for important concepts, on YouTube channel. Number two, see here I have only mentioned the name of the question, but if you need the file also where I have summarized all of these questions along with their answers, then I have launched my crash course on website www.bbvirtualsglobal.com. Now in this particular course, if you enroll for AA crash course, then we are going to solve all of these questions in the live mode. Okay, in the live mode, the classes are conducted on every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Okay, and we will finish all questions by 14th of November, 15th of November, and we will be solving all of these questions in the live mode. Okay, plus you will be getting a soft copy of all of these questions from my end as well, and we will be solving these questions also. Plus if you solve any other questions, we will be in a position to review those questions as well and solve all your queries. Then third, in this crash course, test series is also there. Total 4, 2 half syllabus, and 2 full syllabus with evaluation. Yes, with evaluation. Okay, and for more tips and tricks, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. On YouTube I am available by the name of ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal, on Telegram with the same name ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal, on Instagram I have the same username ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. And if you want to enroll for a crash course, please go to this website www.bbvirtualsglobal.com and enroll for this. I am mentioning all of the links over here in the description box so that you can reach out to us. I hope that this file would have been very relevant for you, very helpful for you. Just in case if you need any of the help from my end, please feel free to reach out to me on Telegram, or please feel free to comment on this video. Now if you liked this video, please put the like button. Okay, please press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and please share this video with your ACCA buddies as well. Thank you so much. Thank you.